Already 15:04. Thank you, everyone. Seeing the time is 15:04, I will, at this point, hand over the meeting to Sherry Maponga. For those who may not know, Sherry Maponga is the Legal and Compliance Manager for the Lusaka Securities Exchange.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Sichane. Good afternoon, everyone. I am trying to set up my video briefly, and then I will switch it off after that to just ensure that we have connectivity. So I will ask for 2 minutes of your time to do that. Okay. Kindly confirm that you can see my screen.
I can confirm we can see your screen and you are very much audible. You may please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Is my video on?
Your video is still on, but for the sake of having a smooth internet connection, you're free to turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sichane. Good afternoon once again to everyone. My name is Sherry Maponga. As introduced earlier, I am in legal and compliance here at the LuSE, and I will be running you through a presentation regarding investor rights and obligations. Just a bit about the LuSE because I will be touching briefly on that. We are a stock exchange, a licensed stock exchange, licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And one of the products that we do offer on the exchange is equities as well as corporate bonds. Today, I'm going to basically run you through an overview of your investor rights and obligations. And this is intended to be an interactive session. So after my presentation, please do feel free to ask questions. And we will be available to attend to those questions. Thank you very much. Okay, I am. All right. So, as I stated earlier, we are currently Zambia's main securities exchange. And what's highlighted there is that we remain central to the national economic aspirations of being a platform where ideas meet capital. So, what that basically entails is that we have issuers on one hand who are looking to raise their capital. And then we have investors on the other hand who are looking to invest in some of these products that are on the market. And so, what we do as an exchange is basically facilitate for these two people to meet. So, we facilitate for the issuer to come across the investor who then can trade on a platform such as the LuSE. Today, I'm basically looking at something that's very important and very topical right now, and that is investment. So what we're going to start with is basically the definition of who an investor is. So, investor is really any individual or an institution that commits money or resources into an asset, into a business or a financial instrument with the expectation of generating returns, right? So, some of the key examples that you get to see of an investor is individual shareholders. You do have pension funds. For pension funds, you can think of your NAPSAs, you have your Aflife, you have Prudential. You can also think of insurance companies. These are also key investors, both on the capital markets as well as the bond market. You have investment clubs. You also have your unit trust investors who basically are pulling resources together and ensuring that those funds are invested into different avenues. So, what are some of the investment products, the common investment products that we basically look at? These include shares or equities, what we're calling shares or equities, and this is a product that is provided by the Lusaka Securities Exchange currently. We also have bonds, both the government bonds, whose primary auction usually takes place at the Bank of Zambia, and the secondary option on the in the different commercial banks that we have around. We also have treasury bills. We have collective investment schemes. We also have exchange traded funds. So these are some of the common investment products that you get to come across. However, this list is not conclusive. We do have a variety of other products that an individual would consider when they are considering investments. Okay, so this slide basically just shows you the same thing, and that is your stocks, your equities, your shares, except it breaks down in detail what this entails. As you can see there, your stocks, your equities, or your shares is basically an individual becoming a part owner of a company. Bonds are basically an individual lending money to an issuer. So basically, it's one party lending money to the other, and then their return on investment in this case would be the interest that they get over time. And then that money is then paid back depending on the period of time. We also have exchange traded funds. So this is basically a collection of assets such as shares, bonds, or commodities that are traded on a stock exchange like a normal share. Right. So we'll go straight into some of the rights and obligations that an investor who has invested in some of these different products that we have looked at would have. So the first one is your rights to information. So one key aspect to investment, particularly on the LuSE as well, is that you have the right to access accurate, timely, and complete information. So when you are an investor on the LuSE and you have bought your shares or your stocks from different entities, some of the key things that you get to notice and some of the key information that you get to access, things like company financial statements, annual reports, material announcements. In this case, these are also called price sensitive information, risk disclosure, changes in management, as well as any ownership changes, corporate actions, as well as investment terms. So whenever there's been a change as regards a corporate action or an investment term, this is something important that the investor has to be informed of. So basically what we're looking at when we're looking at the rights to information is the fact that an investor gets to have access to this information as and when this information falls due. One of the key, I will keep referring to the Lusaka Securities Exchange as a key example of some of that information that you get to see. So what you will see from listed companies that are listed on the Lusaka Securities Exchange is that the issuer has an obligation to give their investors financials at the end of each financial year. So within 3 months after the end of each financial year, they would have to publish these financials to the public. They would have to hold an annual general meeting to explain these financials to the investor. And they would also have to ensure that they answer any questions that arise from those financials. In addition to that, what you will note when you attend the annual general meeting of the particular company where you have bought shares is that they will provide you with an annual report, which contains detailed information regarding their financials and other information such as reports on sustainability, reports on their social corporate governance, as well as other events that they had undertaken during the course of the year. In addition to this, some of the material information that you will see are announcements that are published whenever there's a change in the on the board of directors. This is going to be announced. Whenever there's a change in ownership, this is also announced. Whenever there's a corporate action, there's a transaction that a company is undertaking, they ensure that this information is given to investors. So I have put a small note there on why this matters. Access to information helps investors make informed investment decisions. So what this basically entails is that your financial statements become your communication to investors on how the company is performing. And the investor then is able to decide on whether they want to remain with a particular stock or they want to buy out of a particular stock. The second right that an investor is entitled to is a right to fair treatment. So the one thing that you will also notice about the exchange is that everyone gets to have information at the same time. So regardless of whether one is an individual investor or is an institutional investor, this information comes in at the same time. So you have equal access to market information. There's fair pricing and trading practices. This basically entails that nobody is buying a share at a different price in comparison to the next person. These share prices are published at the end of every trading day. And these are transparent to the entire market to be able to know, to say, this is the price of a stock, this was the opening price, and this was the closing price. So this is regardless of which tier of investors is investing on the market. The other one thing about being treated fairly and equitably, the fair treatment is a protection from insider trading and market manipulation. So in the event that one group of shareholders is given information at a different time in comparison to another group of people, there's a chance that one group of investors would invest and would probably sell the shares to disadvantage another group of investors. So how we actually protect investors from this and to ensure that there's fair treatment is to ensure that everyone has access to the same information. So when you look at a term like insider trading in this case, and what we are preventing is to ensure that whoever has access to information that may disadvantage the market will not be able to use it if this information is accessed by the investors at the same time. This also ensures that there's no discrimination and no one is treated differently, and there's transparent transaction of processes. So basically what you get at the end of every trading day is called a market report, where you'll be able to see your closing prices. You'll be able to see all the information that you need for each company that's listed on the exchange to enable you to make an informed decision. You don't have to wait and rely on a particular investor that may have access to the information first before such information is published. Another right that an investor has is the right to ownership. So what this entails is that when you invest in shares, you're basically investing in property like any other property holder. So how you are treated is as someone who actually owns property. So the first thing that you do receive once you invest in shares is that you receive your proof of ownership. So when you come to the LuSE, for example, and you ask for a statement relating to your shares, they'll be able to produce a statement for you to show you how your portfolio is seated, under which broker this portfolio is seated, and how many shares you're able to see all that information based off your proof of ownership. So in addition to that, because you own these shares, you have the right to transfer or sell them. So the LuSE basically provides you this platform to be able to do that, to be able to transfer your shares or to sell the securities on the market as and when you decide to do so. In addition to this, because you own these shares, you also have the right to receiving dividends or interests. You also have the right to benefiting from the capital appreciation on this particular stock because you're the owner of the stock. So as regards capital appreciation, what this entails is that if a share was trading at 2 kwacha last year and it's now trading at 5 kwacha, you also benefit from that capital appreciation, and your portfolio then grows and moves from the 2 kwacha that the share was trading at to 5 kwacha in the preceding year when the share appreciates. In addition to this, because you're now the part owner of a company, you also are able to participate in corporate actions. Basically, any transaction that a company decides to bring to market, the shareholder has a right to provide their vote as regards these transactions. The other one, which I have briefly touched on, is the right to participate and to vote. So what this basically entails is that you have the right to attend annual general meetings on a yearly basis. So whenever the issuer or whenever the person that is raising this capital convenes an AGM, every shareholder of that particular company has a right to attend that AGM. And when they attend the AGM, one of the key things you get to see is that they provide for voting on resolutions. So some of the standing resolutions that you get to see when you go to your annual general meetings is resolutions regarding your financials, resolutions regarding the appointments of directors, resolutions regarding the appointment of auditors, resolutions regarding on some of the retirement of some of the directors, and many other different things that may be tabled at the AGM. So shareholders are consulted at such a meeting and they are to vote on such a transaction. And if it goes through, then the company is at liberty to proceed with the various appointments and changes that they wish to undertake. And in addition to this, one of the key things that's tabled at the annual general meetings is the director's remuneration. So you'll be able to see that shareholders are able to speak to this, are able to vote on this, and they're able to actually decide what the company will be undertaking in the following year. In addition to this, the company also has the obligation to convene meetings where they require shareholder approval. And in this case, the shareholders would have to meet either at the AGM or at an extraordinary general meeting where they get to vote on particular transactions. And in this case, the issuer has the obligation to explain to the shareholders or to the investors what obligations these are, what the company intends to undertake, and then the investors are able to make a decision based off the information that has been provided. In addition to this, prior to the transaction being approved, they would have to have shared the circular providing all the details of a transaction for shareholders to be able to make an informed decision. And one other thing you get to see when shareholders or investors attend an AGM is that they ask questions to management and the directors regarding the company and regarding anything that they want to, that is of concern to the shareholders. In addition to this, I will share a further presentation following this. In addition to this, one of the key things that we get to note that shareholders are entitled to.
Hello, Sherry. Sorry to disturb. We've lost your presentation.
Okay. Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but
Okay, thank you.
we still
See
can't
the
see your
presentation.
presentation. Yeah.
Yes. So what I'll do is that I'll share what I have. I will briefly speak to the rest of my presentation. Just realized that I had two different presentations and I didn't merge them, but I can do that just after this. But what I have left, I will quickly speak to. Okay, kindly confirm that you can still see my screen.
We can see you.
Right, thank you. Okay, I'm struggling with my technology. Let me quickly speak to it and then I'll be able to project it quickly. Okay, the last bit of my presentation was basically speaking to the right to dividends as well as returns. So one of the things that you get to note as an investor when you have invested in a particular company or investment is that you get to have returns, and that's the point of your investment. So some of the key things that you get to see as returns, or some of the examples that you get to see as returns, are your dividends on your shares, or interest if you've invested on your government bonds, a capital gain, what I had explained previously as having invested in a stock and it's probably priced at 2 kwacha this year and it's later priced at 5 kwacha, that is your capital gain, and that becomes a return on your investment, as well as bonus shares in the event that the company decide to issue bonus shares. So these are some of the key rights that an investor would be entitled to. And quickly, just to see some of the obligations that an investor would have, these would include conducting due diligence. So what basically this entails is that every investor has the duty to ensure that before they make an investment, they are consulting the right people. They're ensuring that this is not something that hasn't been vetted and carefully thought through before they take such a decision. So as you consider investing in any of the stocks or in any of the products that I have highlighted up there, one of the obligations that an investor has is that of ensuring that they have undertaken their due diligence. And linked to your due diligence is also understanding the risks that are attached to such an investment. So get to look at your product and get to think about it in terms of its market risk, the credit risk, your liquidity risk, operational risk, and some of those risks that may surround such a product. And some of the other, one of the other key things that we look out for as an obligation for an investor is to ensure that they provide accurate information. So what we do whenever an investor is being onboarded and wants to invest on a product, say for example on the LuSE, is that we will ask for certain information, and we ensure that your KYC, what we're calling your KYC, your know your client requirement, is properly profiled, so that we are able to trace a person, and we're able to track and are able to communicate with such a person. So a key obligation that we require of an investor is that they provide this information in time. Another one is compliance with laws and regulations. This is very key in the sense that as you invest, you want to ensure that you're doing it legally, you're doing it in a way that does not abridge the law. What basically this entails is that you have to avoid things like insider dealing. Insider dealing basically entails that maybe you know a potential issuer, or you know an issuer, you know someone who works on the inside, they're able to provide you with information, and based off that information, you are making a decision to probably invest in a stock, and that becomes insider dealing or market manipulation, where you are offloading stocks on the market to basically inflate the price because you have an end goal in mind. So these are some of the key things that we look out for, ensure that investors are not doing, and that the market remains transparent and user-friendly for everyone. So basically, that is my presentation around investor rights and obligations. And at this particular point in time, I will still leave my screen to share as you also ask questions. I will open it up basically for questions. Thank you so much. I hand over to you, Sitone.
Thank you, Sherry, for that very insightful presentation. Actually, I learned quite a lot myself. With regard to the rights of an investor, they have a right to fair treatment, right to ownership, right to participate and vote, and the right to protection. And then with regards to obligations of an investor, they must conduct due diligence before investing, they must provide accurate information, and they must comply with the market rules, amongst some of the things that you had mentioned. As Sherry had said, you, ladies and gentlemen, you're very much welcome to ask questions. I see already a hand that has been lifted by Sylvester. Sylvester, your mic is unmuted. You may please go ahead and ask your question. Sylvester Raymond, your mic is unmuted. You may ask your question.
Hello? Yep.
Hello, Sylvester. We can hear you. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a question, but I think you have just summarized what we've learned today, which has been very, very important to me in terms of the right of an investor. So that was that was what I wanted to comment, that I've gotten something from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sylvester. I see Alan. Alan Samuel, you may go ahead and talk.
All right, okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, Alan, we can hear you.
All right, perfect. Just two questions. The first one is regards to the rights of an investor vis-a-vis voting during an AGM, especially a minority retail investor. I've noticed that when it comes to voting on certain resolution, for example, a dividend payout, that's where a lot of contention comes in. The voting power of institutional investors, for example, and the majority investors, they carry a lot of they carry a lot of power in regards to the passing of the resolution. Then the minority investors, who usually are retail investors, whatever they say usually doesn't go. Is there a provision, at least in the future, maybe not now, that could be put in the Securities Act where the voting powers can be treated differently or separately, so to speak? That's number one. Number two, are there mechanisms to detect insider trading pre-trade? It's easy to detect post-trade because you can look at the voting block, the buying patterns and the blocks of shares being bought by a particular investor. Then you can say, okay, possibly this person. You can see something, there's a pattern. But are there mechanisms both on the securities, from the SEC side and the LuSE side? Are there mechanisms where you can you put in place to sort of detect pre-trade? Like, okay, I don't know how to phrase this, but I hope you get the gist of my question. So I had those two questions for Sherry.
Right. Thank you so much. Those are very, very insightful questions. Should I take them up now, Sichone, or do you want to take more questions?
I think you can go ahead and answer his question.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So those are very, very insightful questions. To start with, relating to the minority shareholder, that's a very, very important observation. Some of the key steps that have been taken both by the LuSE and the SEC is to ensure that whenever a transaction is going to market, what is stated in our rules is to ensure that we obtain shareholder approval for certain transactions that may advantage the majority and disadvantage the minority. So in the event that there is a transaction, for example, that favors the majority, but doesn't necessarily affect the minority, but will impact them when such a decision is undertaken, we get to see that you will have a transaction where the majority will not be allowed to vote. The minority gets to vote on such a transaction to ensure that their rights are adequately protected. But I do get your point as regards how the voice of a minority is always diluted. Some of the other key things that we get to do and you get to see during some of the AGMs, I know one of them did that just previously, is that you get representation on the board. So you get to appoint one member who will be sitting on the board to sort of be able to table some of the concerns of the minority shareholder and see how they get to address some of the concerns coming from the minority shareholder, because we know very well that the majority shareholder is adequately covered. However, the minority shareholder might not have a voice. So what we do in most cases is that we recommend that as issuers are looking at their board compositions, they are factoring in the minority and there's representation on the board from the minority. And we've seen a number of issuers have since structured their board as such. However, to your point, this has not completely solved the problem. The minority continue to not have a voice, and this is something that I believe we can still consider and can still look at to see how this can be adequately addressed. To your second question, is there a way we can address pre-insider dealing? That's something worth exploring. What we currently have, though, is that we have a surveillance module in our systems that sort of detects different activities that happen during market hours. So we're able to detect when someone is just trying to dump a stock. We're able to detect when someone is just trying to inflate the price. We're able to detect when a director from a particular company is trying to trade during a particular period. So this is a report that is pulled from our system at the end of every trading day. And we're able to say, oh, this director from this company attempted to sell or has actually sold these shares. So what we check for in this case is at the time that they're trading, is this what we're calling a closed period? So a closed period is basically a period when these directors have had sight of the financials. However, they haven't published these financials to the public. So basically, they have information that sort of speaks to the performance of the company. And at this point, they are in an advantaged position to be able to trade, either to buy more shares or to actually dump some of their stocks on the market. So during this period, a director is not allowed to trade. And our systems are able to pick up on that should they trade. So we have a database of all directors and all their associates, and we ensure that this report is pulled on a daily basis to ensure that insider dealing is not taking place. As regards pre-insider dealing, I think this would have to sit with an investigative wing to sort of get to the detail of how did insider trading take place, if it actually did, and how then did it start, where did it start, how are they connected to the company, just to ensure that that is actually addressed. I hope I have answered that question.
I don't know whether I'm still audible. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Thank
yes, Alex, you are audible.
So much. I've actually learned that there is a surveillance system under the LuSE that can pick, especially traders' activity on the market, especially traders that's directors that sit on. I won't mention names, but certain institutions. Yeah, certain institutions, because I attend some of these AGMs, so you can see that this particular director on the board also runs this particular investment firm. So if there's a surveillance system, that's very good.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Alan.
Look at yours.
Right. All right. Thank you, Alan, for your question. We move into the chat section now with regard to the questions that have been asked there. Dennis Kavamba asks, when will the bonds platform go live on the LuSE app?
Okay, Dennis, we are looking forward to that as well. And we are working tirelessly in the background to see how that can be incorporated onto our app, because we believe that there is an appetite for the retail investors to be able to undertake this trading on the app. So no, I will not provide you with a definite date, unfortunately, but just to assure you that we are actively working on that, and we're looking to implement it in the near future.
Then Billings Mwale is asking, are EFTs available on the LuSE app?
Okay, so ETFs are not yet available on our app, and it's not a product that has been unveiled on the exchange yet. So currently what we have seated on the exchange, your shares or equities, as well as our corporate bonds. We are yet to unveil the exchange traded funds. It's an active conversation as well, and it's something that we're really, really looking forward to provide investors a diverse portfolio of investments.
Okay, thank you for answering the question on ETFs, exchange
Yes.
traded funds, not EFTs. Yes. Reina Michael Trace asks, how do we intend to increase liquidity and capital market participation in creating an equity culture in Zambia?
Okay, that's an intelligent question. Thank you for that. How do we intend to address the issues of liquidity? Number one thing that we have noted in our market is that there's been a major information gap. There's been a major information gap as regards our retail investor participation. We believe this is a mass market that we could probably leverage, and that can probably help many Zambians achieve some of the goals that they want to achieve. So what we aim to do, first of all, is to churn out as much information as we can, and to be able to educate and reach as many investors as we can about this thing called the LuSE and how they can actually participate. We believe that the retail investor market, it has the potential to unlock liquidity for the market. That is one way in which we are looking to unlock liquidity. Secondly, we believe information needs to go out a bit more. Zambia, the Zambian Stock Exchange needs to be known a little bit more, even on the foreign entity front, to ensure that we have that visibility and we are reachable to other markets that are able to provide us with the liquidity we require to be able to sustain some of the requests or some of the liquidity demands that we get from issuers. So that's the second thing that we are looking to do. And in addition to this, we continue to engage our pension funds, our insurance companies, and the different people, the different institutions that are actively on the market, to get to see how that they do not just participate in terms of buying shares, because there's been what we're calling a buy and hold strategy, where many institutional investors get to buy, and then after that just get to pack up their stock. However, whenever there's liquidity in the market and you are able to see the buy, both the buy and the sell side, you're able to see that liquidity is flowing, and issuers are able to access the money that they're looking for. So basically, those are some of the steps we're taking to address that. Thank you.
Thank you for answering that question, Sherry. Lyson Zulu asks, will LuSE increase the trading time anytime soon?
Okay, thank you, Lyson, for that. And it's very exciting to get to hear some of the questions that are coming by, because I feel like you are preempting some of the activities that we are actually working on in the background. Yes. In order to align with the 24-hour economy, we're looking to gradually increase the number of hours within which we operate. This is still subject to regulatory approvals, internal approvals as well. But yes, it's an active conversation, and we're looking to increase the number of hours. We're yet to determine how many hours and how much capacity we have internally to be able to sustain that. But yes, it is actively a conversation we're having to ensure that we're aligned to the 24-hour economy.
Thank you for that answer. We have a question from anonymous attendee. The attendee asks, do we see real estate investment Zambia raise trading in local currency as opposed to foreign currency, as the case is now, just for some of us shareholders who are interested in real estate and property investments? So do we see raise trading in local currency as opposed to foreign currency, as the case is now?
Oh, okay. All right. Do we see it transitioning to the local currency? So the decision to move from the kwacha to a dollar-denominated rate was a strategic decision by the business, looking at some of their anchor properties and how that they receive their revenue in dollar. They decided that their REIT should be dollar-denominated as well for purposes of evaluation, and also to just ensure that they have stability within the dollar denomination. However, this is also subject to regulatory approval, to approvals from the Securities and Exchange Commission, approvals as well from the Bank of Zambia. So currently, the Bank of Zambia guidelines do allow for the REIT to remain traded in dollar. And should there be guidance otherwise, we could probably see the REIT to continue trading in kwacha. However, the decision by the issuer currently is to run the REIT as a dollar-denominated REIT.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer to anonymous attendee. We also have Benson Kashiwa, who is asking a financial inclusion question. In terms of inclusivity, how can people who do not have smartphones to invest on the LuSE app be able to, are they able to invest through USSD? When is this functionality being implemented so that no one is left behind? I believe the question is being asked in the form that when will the time come when people are able to get their phone the same way they buy mobile money or transfer mobile money through that system? When will this system be made available for people to be able to buy shares?
Okay. As I stated earlier, I feel like you are basically preempting a number of projects that we've been running in the background. One of them being one key conversation has been around the USSD platform. So what we wanted to do was to ensure that if one could access the buying of shares through the app, they could also access that through USSD. And this is an active conversation. I will look like I'm saying, I'm literally giving the same answer, but trust me, it is an active conversation in the background. We have been exploring the potential mechanisms through which this could be implemented. I know that the IT department is running with this. And we have also looked at the potential partners that we could engage as regarding the USSD platform and see how this can be implemented. So yes, we are looking forward to that to ensure that we cover as many people, and also we provide the USSD platform as an option for as many investors. So this is an initiative that is currently running in the background. And now that you've mentioned it, I believe it's something that I will also check through to ensure that we are actively chasing it and seeing that every investor is covered in that regard.
Thank you, Sherry, for responding to that. We have a question from Raymond Simba, directed to the SEC. Does the SEC foresee a workable compliance pathway for startups wanting programmable equity, tokenized ownership, or blockchain-based cap tables? I repeat the question from Raymond Simba. Does the SEC foresee a workable compliance pathway for startups wanting programmable equity, tokenized ownership, or blockchain-based cap tables? I'll hand over this question to you, Mwanga Kondolo.
Okay, thank you, Tony, and thank you again for that question. So when it comes to financial innovations within the capital market space, from a regulatory standpoint, of course, when we speak pathways, we provide that support towards just guiding what is required terms of the licensing regimes that we have to accommodate such innovations. And primarily, when an innovation does not, or is not rather, is not catered for in the broader Securities Act, we did issue a regulatory sandbox to that effect to allow for such innovations. And ideally, what the sandbox regulations allow for is to test capital markets innovations under a set of limited conditions, set parameters, which are agreed upon between the innovator that would like to deploy the product itself alongside the commission. And some of the asset classes, I think, or distribution channels that have been mentioned are actually catered for within the sandbox. Now, just to touch on an important point, even though the sandbox does not categorically support the immediate participation of startups, we need to recognize that the sandbox requires that any innovator that wants to deploy capital markets products should have at least had the product developed at an advanced stage already test, and any pending issues that may be identified may not be of a material nature. But otherwise, we are on standby to provide any handholding that may be required to meet the regulatory requirements as per the sandbox entails. This could be through the various stakeholders that we work with, and also just guiding through the process as it relates to meeting some of the actual requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mwanga.
I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mwanga, for attempting the question asked by Raymond. That was a very insightful perspective from the SEC point of view. We do have a question from Charlie Zulu Opara. Is WHT, which I believe is withholding tax, applicable to the shares as we have seen with treasury bonds?
Okay.
I hand Sherry. Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks, Sichane. So what we get to note, withholding tax on your dividend payment is not applicable when you are receiving your return. In addition to that, you will also get to note that you won't get to pay any PTT, property transfer tax, that is, when you are trading your shares on the exchange. So you will note that if you're doing a share transfer at Pakra for a private company, you will have to undergo the process of paying your relevant taxes. However, some of the exemptions that you get to see on the market is that you don't get to pay your property transfer tax, and neither is your return, and that is the dividend, taxed at the point when you're receiving it.
Thank you, Sherry, for answering that particular question. We quickly move on to Joseph Michello, who asks, when will alternative markets be shown on the LuSE app? Would like to invest more in alternative markets. Then two, how friendly is it to list on LuSE as an upcoming entity? I believe the LuSE is referring to should be the alternative market. Then three, do you do sensitization and stakeholder engagement among youths in schools to push the know-how of LuSE and learning of the future? So I repeat the question. Joseph would like to know to know if the alternative market is there. It's listed on the LuSE app.
Okay, thank you, Sichone.
Yes.
All right. So the first question is the alternative market on the app. Yes, it is. So what you will notice is that the one company that is currently seated on the alternative market tier.com Zambia is currently also seated on the app. So all companies, both the main board tier as well as the alternative market tier, are all listed on the application, with the exception of Real Estate Investment Zambia, due to its denomination in dollar. However, every other company that is listed, regardless of which tier it's seated on, you get to see those companies on the exchange. The second question, very important, something that we're very passionate about, is the alternative market tier. Is it possible to list on that tier? 100% yes. The requirements under the alternative tier have basically been made quite easy. The entry requirements have been relaxed in comparison to the main board and requirements, to just ensure that a number of startups are able to access the alternative markets. One exciting thing you would also like to know is that currently we have introduced an incentive, and this applies both to us and to the Securities and Exchange Commission as well. That any company that is coming to market, the first 10 companies coming to market through the alternative market tier, is coming at no cost. So you are not going to pay any listing fees. You are not going to pay any listing fees, both on the LuSE front as well as the SEC. So yes, there is a platform that facilitates for the listing, or for potential listings for issuers who are upcoming SMEs. And the idea basically is to facilitate for this company to get into their growth phase and also to upgrade to the main board in the future. And the last question was, do we provide for information platforms for schools and universities? I think, if I'm not getting it wrong. And the answer is 100% yes again. We currently are running what we're calling Teach 1,000 Learners. So what we have done is that we have sent out an expression of interest to anyone that's actually interested to be able to sign up, either bring the university to us, or we can go to the university, and we're able to provide this information to different schools or universities that come forward.
Thank you, Sherry, for giving that insightful response. I do understand the time is 16:02, and we are also in consideration of the fact that we started slightly late. So we will just give it 8 minutes. Then the meeting will end at 16:10. So we are willing to take on just a few more questions. I can see Alexina Munyanti asks, as global markets increasingly adopt ETFs to improve market participation and diversification, what is the SEC's roadmap for bringing ETFs to the LuSE, and what milestones remain before launch? From the point of view of the Securities and Exchange Commission, we did issue guidelines, ETF guidelines, in 2020, and it's now, from our end, we've done our part. And I think, LuSE, you may come in and share what you are also doing on your side of things to make ETFs readily available to the general public. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sijone. This is also an active conversation in the background. It sounds like a cliche answer, but it is an active conversation in the background. We are looking to actually bring to market ETFs, and we have been in conversation with potential issuers for this. And there's been conversation with potential underwriters as well to see how this product can be unleashed. And this is something that is going to come in the near future, because I know that it's been an active conversation in the background with the guidelines in place. And obviously, subject to regulatory approval, we are looking to bring forth the exchange-traded funds.
Also, Sichone, if I could come in.
Yes, Maponga, go ahead.
And just to build on both your submissions together with Sherry, I think beyond the issuance of the guidelines, we need to also be cognizant that we have the Capital Markets Master Plan, and one development area speaks to the need to develop new and innovative products. Of course, ETFs have been tried and tested in far developed countries, and they're no longer probably considered innovative. But for our market, I think since the introduction of the guidelines, we are yet to see them come to market. So through the Capital Markets Master Plan window, we have a number of structures, working groups, action teams under the Public-Private Dialogue Forum, who the expectation is that such products will eventually come to market through the different deliberations or submissions that are made through the Secretariat, ourselves as SEC. And it is our hope that we can also help to facilitate for the introduction of these products to market. I thought I should just add that beyond just issuing the regulations, we are actively also working closely with potential stakeholders to develop a pipeline of new and innovative products. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maponga. And just a point of correction, the exchange traded funds guidelines were actually issued in 2024, not 2020. Please take note of that correction. We can take at least two more questions, seeing we only have about 4 minutes left. Reina Michael Praise asks, when could LuSE provide investment return analytics on the app, the LuSE app? Investment return analytics.
Okay. I wish my IT team was here to actually advise on when that can come to the app. But we do constantly look at upgrades to the app and seeing how we can improve user experience. And I think that's something we could take into account and see how that can be explored. Yeah, I think that's what I can say for now.
Right. Thank you, Sherry. Anonymous attendee asks, I saw LuSE as a stock in the app. Can you please explain it?
Okay, I'll try to make it a very brief explanation. So we currently have another tier on the exchange that we call the quoted tier. So these are companies that are publicly, have gone public. So they have converted from private company to public company, and they have since registered their shares with the Securities and Exchange Commission. These companies have not come to the exchange, to the LuSE to list. However, as soon as they register their shares with the Securities and Exchange Commission, they are automatically quoted. What this entails is that should they want to trade, they can only trade through a registered stock exchange. In this case, because we're currently the only stock exchange in Zambia, they can only trade through the LuSE. So there's a few companies when you look at the app that you can actually see but cannot trade in, and one of them is the LuSE, for example, that is publicly has gone public, has moved from being a private company limited by shares to a public company, and as a result, should they undertake any trade, this trade should either be reported to the exchange or should be undertaken on a registered stock exchange. You also get to see companies like EIZ, Engineering Institute of Zambia. Engineering Institute of Zambia is also one of the entities that has gone public, and as such is required to undertake any of its transactions on the exchange. So the qualifier there is that it's a quoted entity. It is not listed, and it doesn't actively trade. Well, some do, some don't. It's entirely optional. However, should they undertake a trade, this trade should be undertaken on a registered stock exchange. I hope you can. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Sherry, for that insightful response as to why LuSE is seen listed. And you have pointed out it's in the quoted tier. We do know that there are a lot of questions right now which are still pending. And what we'll do is that we will do our best to capture everything or remaining questions which have not been answered. And we'll share these questions with our colleagues at LuSE, see how best we can answer them. And then the answers to the questions will be distributed alongside the presentation. Seeing that the time is 16:10, I would like to thank my presenter, Sherry Maponga, from the Securities and from the Lusaka Securities Exchange, for that lovely presentation. And to you, our colleagues who have tuned in, we'd like to say thank you for your time. For those who might not be aware, the Securities and Exchange Commission conducts townhall meetings on a monthly basis through webinars with various stakeholders, including issuers of securities, investors, policymakers, and the general public. And as I had earlier pointed out at the beginning of the session, these meetings are designed to encourage broad participation and dialogue on matters relating to capital market development and participation. These town hall meetings happen every last Thursday of the month, and please always look on our socials. Around that time, we tend to post the topic that will be discussed on the last Thursday of the month. With that said, I'd like to thank you, everyone in attendance, and we shall do our part to share the material that I have mentioned with you. All right. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Sichone, and thank you to everyone that signed up.